Hey YouTubers, Muskrat Jim here. And today what I want to do is try out this new alcohol stove. I bought it on Amazon for about $8, I believe it was. And comes, as you can see, it comes with the pot stand. And it's got a snuffer. And then it's got the screw-on cap with the O-ring in it. Anyway, as you can see, the thing's blowing around here. It's a little bit windy out here, and also it's quite bright, so you probably wouldn't be able to see the flame. So let's go on over to the barn and we'll light it up in there. Okay, so for $8 it came in this nice little stuff sack. It's sort of a velvety material, drawstrings, and like I said earlier, it has a little snuffer lid that you can use to snuff out the fire and also to adjust the flame. So if you wanted to simmer something, you could just swing that top part out to about halfway or so, or maybe even less, and then you could sit this over the flame, and then you'd only get a small little flame coming out. So anyway, we'll try that. And like I said, it came with a lid here, and the lid has the rubber O-ring in it that'll seal against these holes and prevent it from leaking. Now, a friend of mine had one of these. It was an Alox, A-L-O-C-S, and he shook it around and he tapped it on its side, and after he tapped it on its side, it actually leaked just a little tiny bit. So I'm going to have to make sure that when I pack this, if I pack it with fuel in it, that it stays level and not tipped on its side. Now, I did make a slight adjustment to this base. When I first got it, and I put the stove in, it would wiggle around quite a bit to the point that it could actually fall off of one of these tabs, and so then it wouldn't be level, it would be more at an angle, right? So what I did is I pressed these in just a bit, like all three of them, and now it sits in there nice and snug. It's not going to go anywhere. I mean, I can still pull it out and put it back in again, but it's not going to accidentally slip off or whatever. Now, the fuel I'm using is methyl hydrate. Anyway, this 1 liter jug costs $4.99 Canadian at our local hardware store. That's Canadian Tire for you guys here in Canada. Instead of just bringing 2 ounces of fuel in here, or bringing a whole liter with me when I go out if I want to do more than one burn, I've got this little plastic container. I've written fuel on the side, and on the side here it's a transparent section, and it's got markings. I believe it'll hold 4 ounces. So what I can do is I can fill this up, and that'll give me 2 of these stoves worth of fuel, and I can also fill up the stove to give me 3 burns. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour some of this methyl hydrate into this container to the 2 ounce mark, and then I'm going to pour that into the stove just to see how full the stove gets. Now, this container, originally it had some fish food in it. My son used to have an aquarium, and it was a liquid fish food. See, there you can see that it's got a little hole to squeeze out the fish food. But anyway, I saw it and I thought, you know, that's going to be a pretty good container for an alcohol stove to carry alcohol in. So I kept it. Now I'm just going to open up this big jug here. I don't want to spill it all over the place, so I'm going to use a funnel, and I'm just going to fill it up to the 4-ounce mark. Actually, I said the 2-ounce mark, didn't I? Okay, so that's half full now. A little sparrow just tried to come into the barn with me. Okay, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that. Oh yeah, you'll be able to see that because I can see it. Anyway, the fuel is half full. Or this container is half full. So I'm going to try to empty this container into the stove now and just see how full it gets. Now this stove is built on the classic Trangia style design. So it's got like an inner sleeve and an outer sleeve. Okay, well that's interesting. Now if you take a look right inside the stove, you might be able to see that the stove is filled to just below half. So this stove would actually hold 4 ounces for sure. Okay, get rid of my containers. And what I'm going to do is put this 12 ounces of water into my kettle. Now I don't even know if that's enough fuel to boil this, or whether it's plenty of fuel to boil that. I really don't know. Okay, so we're going to let that up. Yep, okay, that's lit. Okay. Put the kettle on. And now we wait. Okay, so I ended up having to snuff it out. The reason being is because I forgot to bring my clock out so that we can time it. So, let's light her up again. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to plume, or if it has already, because I really can't see the flame, although I can hear it if I listen carefully. I can also hear the woodpecker out back. Anyway, we'll let that go, and I'll come back a little bit later when it's closer to, I don't know, the 5-minute mark. So we'll wait a little while and we'll come right back. Well, it's been almost 7 minutes now, and the flame is still going. Yep, the flame's still going. And the kettle is quite hot to the touch. The water's just starting to steam. But there was a bit of a breeze in here, and so I'm sure that it's blowing the heat from the flame towards the back over here a bit more. So I'll just move my cup out of the way. But anyway, so that's 7:30 right there. And we're not at a boil yet. Now, one of the reasons why I really haven't used alcohol stoves in the past is because of some safety hazards. Like, because the fuel is in a liquid form, you can accidentally spill it. And if you don't have a proper base for your stove, you could tip your stove over while it's lit, and that would be disastrous because then you'd have flames going wherever the liquid flowed. So anyway, I bought this stove in particular because it did have this type of a sturdy wide base and pot stand. Okay, I can hear it starting to boil now. Can you hear it? Well, you can still hear the woodpecker. I'm just going to lift you up here so you can see inside the pot. See, it's steaming, but it's not quite boiling yet. A few more seconds. And we're getting close to the 10-minute mark. Just going to move you a little bit here so you can see the steam. There, you can see the steam rising now. And it's boiling way down there. And that's 10 minutes. 10 minutes for 12 ounces of water. So about 350 milliliters. Take that off. And that used up about half of the fuel that I put in there, which is pretty good, because that means you get 2 of those boils out of 2 ounces of fuel. Okay, there, it's out. So like I said, the reason why I really wasn't a proponent of alcohol stoves was because they typically had a small little base, and then you'd have to balance a big pot over the top of it, and if you happen to tip it a little bit while it was lit, you know, the alcohol would go everywhere, and then you'd have a forest fire on your hands. So I was playing it safe. Anyway, before you can put this lid back on, you're supposed to let that cool completely so that you don't melt and damage the rubber O-ring. So we'll just let that cool off. Okay, so that was an interesting test. Yeah, I think I'm going to use that from time to time out in the woods just to change it up a bit from the gas stoves, you know. But I'll have to make sure that it's on a very level surface and take the normal precautions. Now, when we have a fire ban here, I'm sure you're not allowed to use alcohol stoves out in the woods, just because they're not as safe as, say, a gas stove, for example. Another thing about these stoves, because they're fairly easy to spill and the results could be disastrous, is that you really should keep any pets or children away from it while it's lit. So anyway, I want to thank you for joining me, and until next time, this is Muskrat Jim signing out. And the woodpecker signing out too. For more muskrat survival videos, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember to click the bell to receive notifications of newly uploaded videos on this channel.